My child has ADHD. Now what? Raising a child with ADHD can be hard. Homeschooling a child with ADHD, even harder. But when we have tips we can trust from professionals, it makes life so much easier. In today's Good Mom interview, I'm talking to a pediatrician and ADHD specialist, and she is sharing her best tips on how to raise a child suffering from a learning disorder. If you're wondering how to easily connect with and support your child, this is for you. She even shares a brilliant ADHD report for parents that you can download for free. I'm very excited to introduce Dr. Effiong. She is blogging at ADHDpracticalsolutions.com. She is a mom of 3, a pediatrician, and an expert at helping parents of children with ADHD, help them to improve attention and their listening skills. And we're very happy to have her here tonight. Welcome.
Thank you so much for your kind introduction. It's my pleasure to be here.
So before we get started, I know our audience would love to get to know you a little bit better. So tell us something about you that most people don't know.
If I had my way, I would love to go to a bookstore and just sit there for hours, hide in a corner and read a book that's set in historical times. I used to love to read those until I went to med school and had kids, and that hasn't happened. So that's something I enjoy doing.
I think I would be right there next to you in a bookstore. I also love it. Right, so at the moment, one of my biggest concerns as a parent is obviously just to keep my family safe and healthy through this pandemic. Is there something as a parent that keeps you up at night?
Yes, so what keeps me up at night is just being concerned that my kids, I'm able to pour into them and give them the values and the skills that they need to be able to function well in life. Sometimes I find myself questioning, am I doing a good enough job? So, and that's what I just wonder, like, okay, what ways can I connect with them better? What ways can I work on myself so I can connect with them and see them just where they are versus where I think that they should be, so.
I think as moms, we can all relate to that. So we already know that you're a specialist in ADHD. What is the thing that you can help parents with?
So the first thing the one big overarching thing I try to help parents with is to help them recognize that they are partners of their children and that they and their children can work together for us to figure out what's really causing their children's behaviors, because there are multiple causes of ADHD. Yes, it may be one disorder, but there are multiple causes. And I've seen various things like environmental, nutritional deficiencies, and other things cause the behaviors of not being able to focus and being hyperactive. So that's the big thing I help parents with, is let's look at what's really causing your kid versus just slap some like medications on your children without really addressing what's really driving their behavior. So.
And what is your best 3 tips to help parents with that?
Well, first is talking with them and just getting the history, like figuring out what's really going on, even all the way back to pregnancy, what happened there, if there are any traumas that have occurred in the child's life, because trauma can make a child act hyperactive and inattentive. And just going through what they're eating and what their home is like and all of those things, and just trying to figure out where we can make changes. And you'll be amazed at the simple changes you can make that will actually help the child behave better or wants to behave better, and their behavior improves, and so does their inattention. So, and I work a lot with parents in terms of, I also host a monthly support group meeting for parents of children with ADHD, because we as parents need to work on ourselves too. So it's not just you, child, you need to change. We need to work on ourselves before we can even attempt to connect with our children. And so those 2 things, first, yes, the biomedical approach, but also the parenting, we talking to ourselves so that we can help our children be their very best selves. So.
Those are very valuable things, and I completely agree. On the topic of ADHD, do you want to share with our parents maybe things that they can look out for, whether they are wondering whether their child is suffering from that or not? And specifically, I know from experience also there's different signs in boys and girls. What are things that they can be looking out for?
Okay, so yes, there's a whole big myth about boys being the only ones that have ADHD, which is not true. So typically, some of the symptoms you would see with boys are, I mean, just inherent in who they are. They may be the more hyperactive. They may be like, I mean, really inattentive and may not necessarily get along well with other kids. And that's not, I'm not being stereotypical, but in general, that's kind of the kind of behavior you may see. And with girls, they may be on the quiet side and they be more impulsive. They also could be the ones daydreaming in class or seem like they're daydreaming, like not really paying attention, but not disturbing the class. They're just there and they're really not there. And so those are the kinds of symptoms you might see in your child, or if she seems to be withdrawing more and not interacting with you as much. Those are the other things to look, the other symptoms to look for. And just knowing that, I mean, either of those, the hyperactivity could also be seen in girls and vice versa. So it's just looking at it from a global perspective and not just, okay, this is what I expect to see in a boy versus a girl. And the other thing I would say is the environment. That's really important. And when I say environment, I mean physical and social environment. So physical environment, for example, lead has been shown to actually cause behaviors of inattentiveness and hyperactivity. And so if you live in an older home, hasn't been checked for lead, you might want to do that. Mold also has been shown to cause the same symptoms in children. So if you go look under your kitchen sinks, look to see if there's any water leakage going on, because I have seen children exposed to mold being taken away from the source and the symptoms of hyperactivity and inattention are gone. So that does happen. And then the social, meaning what's the environment like at school and at home, which brings me back again to parents. How are we acting? How do we see our kids? Because it's the way we see our kids, that's the way we treat them, right? And children with ADHD are already feel, because they already feel like they're less than, they're not good enough, they're not valuable enough. And then if we parents have the same attitude in our heads because we just expect them to be perfect and they're not, then we invariably will give up that same vibe to them in the way we talk to them and all of that. So it's really important for us parents to realize, to be mindful of the environment we have for our kids.
Mm. And I think it's very important that you mention these environmental factors that can cause symptoms like ADHD, because I know in family practice we see so many kids brought in and the mom is just convinced that it's ADHD and she immediately wants the treatment for it, and you cannot convince her otherwise. And
Right,
I think that's why it's important to see a specialist in this area to make sure that that diagnosis is indeed right and that they don't
right.
get treatment that is not necessary.
That's right. And I've also found with the teachers, the school, that
Yes.
because there's the bigger class sizes and all the things that go on at school, if there's a child that maybe just needs less people in his class, or he just needs a little more help, they immediately send them to my office and say, yep, kid has ADHD, and it's like, okay, go get medication for them. So it helps for parents to be aware of and know what's really, is it that, or is it something else going on, and let's figure out what is the thing going on before we slap some medications on, like you said.
Yeah, and I also think, I believe it's a bit of a multidisciplinary approach to help these kids. It's not just about
Yes.
treatment. What do
No.
you normally advise for kids if it is a true diagnosis?
So if the child really has a diagnosis, I always advise parents to get some therapy on board. So behavioral therapy does help. It helps the child and it also helps the parents, because I also often advise the parents to get involved in the counseling. It's not just, oh, I'm going to drop off my kid and he's going. The therapist can also give the parents tips to help manage their interactions with the child, and so that the child is learning the skills at home and when they go to see the therapist, because it will help them across the board. So therapy is definitely a really good one, and also involving the teachers in the care, or explaining to the teachers what's going on with your child and how you're approaching it, like getting them on board. So it's not that they are left out and they all they want is this perfect child in their classroom. It's important to keep the teachers abreast of what you're doing as well. And also it's important to really look at what you eat, because food is medicine, and there's a direct connection between what we eat and the way we act. So much research has been done to show that. So that's another big area that a lot of times we overlook, is what are we eating? Because it does inform the way our brains function and the way we act.
I agree. I mean, one of the first things I think is a dehydration problem. And
Mhm.
what would be your best superfoods to immediately start including in your child's diet?
So I always advise parents eat the rainbow, which means as many colored fruits and vegetables as possible, because those are full of natural sugar. Those are full of natural vitamins that will not increase your child's blood glucose levels, which will lead to increased hyperactivity, hyperactive behavior. So, and I tell parents, shop on the insides of the grocery stores, because if you notice in the grocery store, all the good things tend to be on the, sorry, shop on the outside. All the good things tend to be on the outside, and then all the other things are inside. So the fruits, the veggies wrap around all the other not so good things. So if you just go on the inner aisle and you never visit the produce section, then you're missing out big time. So, and then it helps if you involve your child in this process. Yes, with COVID, we can't go to the store, but for sure, you can get them in the kitchen with you and help them and talk about the food choices they're making. And if a child helps to prepare a meal, then they're more likely to eat it because they're invested in it, right? So
Absolutely. And I think it's also a great time management hack if you just go to the shop and stick to the outsides. I mean, you'll be done way quicker.
yes, that's right. That's a good way to look at it. Yes, absolutely.
And save money. So it's a win-win.
Yes, for sure.
All right. So, okay, a lot of our parents at the moment are reaching out because they need help with supporting their kids do school and homework at home. So, I would like to ask you, is there some advice you can give parents specifically with ADHD diagnosed kids to just support them? What can make it easier, the homework time that they have to face every day?
Yes, that's a really good question. I'm working on that with my daughter as well. She sometimes she can be inattentive. So good way to get the kids on board is to connect with them. And when I say connect with them, it means setting aside your expectations of where they should be, what they should be doing, how they should do it, and just meet your child where they are. And that involves having compassion for your child. So a good way to do it is to break off the to first of all to talk with the child. Okay, so how long do you think, let's estimate together, how long do you think this would take you? Do you think an hour? And they may say, okay, I think it'll take me 30 minutes. And then what you can do is add on like 5 extra minutes. But what you do is, okay, so if you know that your child can focus for 10 minutes, for example, then we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes. They'll do their work, and then you give them a 2-minute break. And in that 2-minute break, it's best for them to get up and move around, get some water, maybe do some jumping jacks, or if they are the hyperactive child, then maybe they can sit quietly or walk or take a short walk. But the movement does two things. So it helps increase the oxygen flow to the brain, which the brain needs the most oxygen in the whole body. And so if you're increasing oxygen to the brain, it helps the brain function better, and they're more likely to do their work more effectively as well. Plus, it also gives them time to move around and feel like, okay, we're accomplishing something, because they see that with the short times that they have, they're really accomplishing their task and they feel good about themselves. So that helps get to, at least in my experience, that has helped get through homework without the yelling, the screaming, the tantrum throwing, all of that. So it helps the parents, because you're working together with your child, which your child absolutely needs. It increases that bonding with you and your child. And then it also helps them get their work done. So
that's brilliant. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. And if our audience want to learn even more from you, where can they find you?
So I can be found on Facebook at Hokehe Effiong MD. I also have the ADHD Practical Solutions page on Facebook. I'm also on LinkedIn at Hokehe Effiong MD. I have a free report for parents. It's basically called Help. My child has ADHD and the questions your child wishes you would ask their doctor. So it's a short report on that answers questions I've gotten from parents about their child and ADHD, and it's at the ADHDreport.com. So those are the places I can be found. Oh, also ADHDpracticalsolutions.com. Yes, the website. Yes. And the email also is ADHDpracticalsolutions@gmail.com. So send me an email too.
Right. So you're going to get a lot of emails and visits to your website. So look out for them. Thank you so much for sharing your freebie with us. The one thing in there that was just so good to see and make me feel like, you know, these people are not alone and out there seeing all this list of celebrity names that actually suffered with ADHD. You want to talk to us for a second about that?
Oh, yeah. So in the free report I mentioned, I have an ADHD Hall of Love or Fame, whichever one you want to call it. So it's people that we all know that have ADHD. So Simone Biles, the gymnast that has won multiple awards. Michael Phelps, the one of the best swimmers of all times, is on there. Yes.
Walt Disney, I did.
Walt Disney is on there, yes. The Schwab, the gentleman who started Schwab, the huge company, he also had ADHD. Albert Einstein.
That's exactly the message. No matter what, this is not a diagnosis that will keep them back. They can still thrive and excel at everything they do if they just get the right support.
Right. And it's a question of focusing on the strengths. Again, which means we have to drop our expectations of them and just focus on their strengths and build those up, because that's what the people on the Hall of Fame did. They focused on their strengths, and that helps them in their entire life. So
yes, and I think that goes for all parenting skills. That is the one thing that we need to do: drop our expectations and look for their strengths. And that is exactly why we having this interview series, because we're discussing the very important question: are you a good mom or a good enough mom? And which one are you?
Which one am I? Let's see. I think I'm a good enough mom. I don't know, because I feel like I'm still learning every day. I don't feel like I've arrived at all. I mean, yes, I'm a pediatrician, but that doesn't mean I have a degree in parenting either. Yes, and striving to be better every day.
So, all right. So, okay, I believe that we needn't be perfect moms, but we can believe that we are good moms. We're doing our best, and that's all it takes to be a good mom.
That's exactly right. Love it. I agree. Right. 100%. Yes. I am a good mom. I tell my patients, you're the best mommy for your child. So and we're all learning. I'm here to help you and I'm here to support you. So yes, I agree.
One last thing before we go. Tell me, what is the one thing that you wish someone told you before you were a mom?
I wish that someone had told me that I need to have compassion of myself and that it's a journey, right? That it's not something you arrive at, and that there's no perfect parent. I mean, I found that out through my journey. So, and I'm glad you're doing this interview series so that the mommies who are not, so the young ladies who are not yet mommies, hopefully, if they come across this, then they know that all they need to do is just, if they make a mistake, get up and do better. When you know better, you do better. That's it.
Exactly. Sometimes we just have to say sorry and move on. All right. Okay. So thank you so much for sharing all your expert advice with us. Is there any last bit you want to give moms a bit of hope when they're raising ADHD diagnosed kids?
So mommies and daddies, oh yes, so we're talking to moms. So moms.
No, I'm sure daddies and daddies as well.
Okay. So it's really important to know that your child wants you to know that they just want you to see them where they are and to know that they do want to be good for you And that if you just come alongside them and just see them for who they truly are, they are the amazing human beings that they are, that then your bond gets stronger, and you on both of you, you parent and the child, both of you will thrive together. And it's just a matter of you changing the way you see your child. So
Okay, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule. We really appreciate it. And we're looking forward to learning even more from you.
yes, thank you. My pleasure.
Thank you for watching this Good Mom interview with Dr. Effiong. It's great to know that it's possible to raise happy kids when we know where to find parenting tips we can trust. Leave a comment and let us know your biggest struggle with raising a child with ADHD. And remember to visit again soon to watch the next Good Mom interview, because I'm here to help you be an awesome mom, raising lifelong learners.